Beneath the damp misty night of the Caribbean Sea in the 17th century, a solitary man sat upon a grand throne piled high with gleaming treasure, his gaze cold, sharp and unyielding. He was Henry Morgan, a fearless hero of his time who broke free from the chains of indentured servitude and eventually rose to command the vast unruly ocean. Tonight let us listen to the endless rhythm of rolling waves and step into his thrilling life filled with rebellion, struggle and extraordinary triumph against cruel fate. If social class stands as an unfathomable abyss that ordinary mortals can never cross, then Henry Morgan was the rare soul who leaped over it, stepping across countless lost lives and barrels of rich spiced rum. He was a ruthless pirate whose name struck terror into the hearts of every Spanish settler and sailor, yet also a knight honored and ennobled by the British Empire. Close your eyes, sink into the calm, soothing flow of gentle narration and feel the deepest quiet breath of the ancient Caribbean Sea. When the clear boundary between written law and chaotic disorder blurred beneath the alluring temptation of gold, Henry Morgan stood silently at the crossroads of fate, ready to make the life-altering decision that would reshape the order of the entire Western world. His legacy is far more than mere plunder and pirate raids. It represents one man's long spiritual journey, striving to seize command of his own destiny and break free from the chains arranged by birth and circumstance. On this quiet, peaceful night, listen closely to the echoing resonance of fate woven from imperial power and the endless crashing rhythm of ocean waves. In the island nation of Jamaica during the 17th century there existed a peculiar official warrant sealed with the red wax imprint of the British Empire. It bore the name Henry Morgan, adorned with the revered title of knight and the official rank of lieutenant governor, yet upon Spanish wanted posters his name was branded that of a cold-blooded butcher, a demon of the seas and a ruthless marauder who spared no mercy. How did a young man once sold like livestock as a white indentured servant on the island of Barbados climb all the way to the summit of colonial power? Tonight, accompanied by the softly flickering glow of the hearth fire, we walk fully into the untold life of this remarkable soul. Through this tranquil tale meant only for quiet reflection, along this journey filled with the sharp salt tang of seawater and the harsh rust of weaponry, you will witness the most powerful act of breaking free a man could ever achieve. He never bowed to the restrictions of established rules, for in his lifetime he became the very one who forged new rules and reshaped old ones. His life surged like the wildest raging wave of the Caribbean, rising from the dark squalid lower decks of trading ships all the way to the central halls of political power in Whitehall. Listen closely. Beyond the steady crash of ocean waves you can hear the faint lingering whisper of Henry Morgan echoing down through the depths of history. His story begins not with majestic fleets flying pirate banners but aboard filthy fetid transport ships carrying indentured laborers. In his youth Henry Morgan was lured and coerced from his hometown in Wales, forced to sign a binding contract that sold his freedom away. Labeled as a white indentured servant, he toiled relentlessly beneath the scorching tropical sun on vast sugar plantations, his back crisscrossed with raw bleeding scars left by cruel whippings. These early painful wounds carved deep into his flesh became the burning fuel for all his later ambition and unyielding determination. The nights on the sugar plantation hung heavy in deathly silence, only the distant rhythmic crash of tides reminding him that the boundless ocean still lay open and free. He understood clearly that if he obeyed the rules and endured his fate quietly, he would live out his days trapped on this bitter strip of land, dying alone and forgotten, reduced to nothing more than fertilizer for the sugar fields. And so under the cover of a dark midnight he fled, risking everything with a courage bordering on recklessness, leaping headlong into a chaotic, lawless world full of danger yet boundless freedom. He joined the legendary Pirate Brotherhood of the Coast, a band of desperate outlaws and fugitives who lived beyond the reach of royal law on the rough wooden decks where strength alone ruled all hierarchy. He was no longer mere property belonging to a plantation owner but a sharpened blade waiting to be unsheathed and set free. He learned to stand steady amid raging tropical storms and mastered the subtle art of reading and manipulating the greedy, fickle hearts of fellow captains and pirates far shrewder than any ordinary sailor. His rise to fame began with the bold raid on Portobello, a prosperous fortified port that served as Spain's primary warehouse for storing massive shipments of stolen gold and treasure. To outsiders the fortress stood impenetrable, guarded by strong walls, heavy artillery and loyal seasoned soldiers, yet to Henry Morgan its defenses were riddled with hidden weaknesses and vulnerable gaps. Instead of launching a direct frontal cannon battle, he led his loyal men on grueling secret marches through muddy, sweltering marshlands, enduring exhaustion, hunger and relentless insect bites for several long days. When his forces emerged silently behind the unsuspecting fortress garrison, his cold, piercing gaze held far more chilling intensity than the dark, icy depths of the ocean itself. The battle that followed ended in brutal, bloody victory, marking the pivotal turning point that catapulted Morgan's reputation across the entire Caribbean. He seized mountains of glittering gold and priceless treasures, yet gained something far more valuable than wealth, an aura of fearsome authority and unshakable influence. He began to realize that simple random plunder could only bring temporary riches, while organized strategic raids held the power to win genuine political authority. He carefully cultivated discreet connections with British colonial authorities, rebranding himself not as a common pirate but as an officially sanctioned privateer. He stood both as the undisputed leader of the pirate fleet and as Britain's shadow vanguard, challenging Spanish dominance and expanding imperial influence across every shipping route of the Caribbean. Every faint dotted line he traced upon nautical charts quietly redrew the dividing lines of British imperial power across the western seas. In 1671 Henry Morgan embarked on the wildest, most daring gamble of his entire career, launching an audacious attack on the legendary city of Panama, the gateway to all South American wealth and trade. He gathered more than 30 warships and over 1,000 hardened outlaws, setting sail toward the wealthy, heavily fortified metropolis. To cross the dense, unforgiving Panama Isthmus, his army endured 9 nightmarish days, trekking through thick, steamy rainforests, their dry rations. Quickly exhausted, they were forced to boil and chew tough leather belts to survive. Venomous insects swarmed relentlessly. Plague spread silently through the ranks, and overwhelming despair hung thick over every weary soldier. Henry Morgan walked steadily at the front of the column, his once fine tattered cloak worn thin, yet his beard always neatly trimmed and his resolve unbroken. His quiet, almost reckless willpower became the only backbone holding this ruthless band of men together. When the grand city of Panama burned to ashes amid raging flames, Morgan stood atop the charred wreckage of its walls, gazing out over piles of scattered gold without a single trace of triumph or smile upon his face. He knew deep within that with the fall of Panama his glorious era as an unbridled pirate had already reached its end. Britain soon signed a peace treaty with Spain, making his unapproved assault an awkward violation of diplomatic agreement. What should have been a brilliant military triumph soon twisted into a subtle political trap, and he was ordered to return to London to face trial for his unauthorized conquest. His trial in London should have led straight to the gallows, yet Henry Morgan transformed the courtroom into his own coronation platform. Inside the cold, gloomy walls of the Tower of London he never begged for mercy like a common criminal. Instead he spoke with the dignified confidence of a conquering hero. He described in precise detail the delicate power balance across the Caribbean, explaining how British control of vital sea lanes could establish unrivaled imperial supremacy. He presented far more than piles of seized gold. He laid before the king a grand, sweeping blueprint for building an unshakable maritime empire. King Charles II was deeply impressed by this rugged sea lion, blessed with raw, untamed courage and sharp political wisdom. In 1674 Morgan was declared innocent of all charges, granted a royal knighthood, and ordered to return to Jamaica to serve as lieutenant governor. It remains one of history's most striking ironic twists. The former feared pirate chieftain was now tasked with upholding the law and suppressing his old pirate companions. Returning to the bustling port of Port Royal, Morgan traded his rugged pirate attire for elegant fine silk robes. Settling into the spacious, dignified office of the colonial governor, he began cracking down fiercely on pirate activity with the same ruthless determination he once used to lead raids and plunder. Standing atop the summit of political power, gazing out over the endless blue expanse of the Caribbean sea, he remained surrounded by familiar waters, yet his identity and place in the world had been completely, forever transformed. In his later years Henry Morgan suffered greatly from crippling gout and chronic liver disease, painful lifelong scars left behind by decades of relentless rum drinking and wild seafaring days. He would often sit alone on the terrace of the Jamaica governor's mansion, watching the golden sunset sink slowly below the distant horizon. Some of the comrades who once endured hunger, mud and hardship beside him had perished upon the hangman's gallows, while others had settled down to become wealthy, respected merchants of the island. People judged him in countless ways, hailing him as a daring national hero, condemning him as a traitor to his pirate brethren, and labeling him a ruthless opportunist driven only by class ambition. Yet Morgan paid little mind to the endless opinions of others. On quiet, lonely nights he would trace gently the edges of his old blood-stained official warrant. One last time his life answered the profound question of fate and redemption posed at the very beginning: as long as a person possesses enough strength, resolve and cunning, the world itself will rewrite its rules to make way for them. In 1688 he closed his eyes peacefully upon his sickbed, and the cannons of the British Empire roared in solemn salute, honoring the passing of this legendary pirate turned noble. Tonight, as we close our eyes, the soft tropical wind of the Caribbean seems to drift across the barrier of time, brushing gently against our resting pillow. All the heart-pounding adventures and dramatic twists have faded into the quiet dust of history, leaving only the steady, soothing rhythm of rolling ocean waves. Let your breath slow, deep and calm. Allow your consciousness to sink into quiet stillness. May you find your own inner peace within the deep historical tides of this timeless sea. Good night and peaceful dreams.